Hello, and you are very welcome to Celtic Skies Sky Update. My name is Donnacha O'Driscoll, and this is your 10-minute videocast that will let you know what is going on in the night sky this coming month. If you are somebody who knows little or nothing about astronomy, if you don't own a telescope or binoculars or any kind of equipment, indeed, if all you have is the naked eye and some curiosity as to what's going on in the sky above us, then this videocast is for you. This month we'll be looking at a number of interesting items, including phases of the moon, the supermoon, a brief discussion on what's to see with respect to the planets, taking a closer look at one of the constellations, the Plough, and finally having a look at meteor showers. So without further ado, let's crack on. At all times, one side of the moon is bright, the side that's facing the sun, and one side is dark. As the moon moves around the earth, we get to see different parts of the bright and dark side of the moon. When the moon is between the sun and the earth, we can only see the dark side, and we call this the new moon. As it moves around the earth, we get to see more and more of the bright side, till eventually, when the earth is between the sun and the moon, we see all the bright side, and this is what we call the full moon. And again, as it moves around the earth, we see less of the bright side and more of the dark side as it goes through the third quarter. In November, the new moon will be on the 29th, the first quarter on the 7th, the full moon will light up our skies on the 14th, and the third quarter will be on the 21st. The moon's orbit around the Earth is not a perfect circle, it's an ellipse. That means as it moves around the Earth, it's sometimes closer and sometimes further away. The point at which it's closest to the Earth we call the perigee, and the point at which it's furthest away is called the apogee. And the difference between the apogee and the perigee is approximately 40,000 kilometers. Now, as the moon moves around the Earth is also moving around the sun. This means that sometimes when we have the full moon, the moon is at the point of perigee, sometimes it's at the point of apogee, and sometimes it's somewhere in between. Now, in November, it just so happens that the full moon is going to occur when it's at the point of perigee, which means that we have a very large looking full moon, and it's called the supermoon. When the moon is full at the apogee point, it's called the micromoon. Now, on its own, you mightn't see the differences, but if you could see the supermoon and the micromoon side by side, the supermoon is 14% bigger than the micromoon, and it's 30% brighter. So make sure, if the skies are clear, that you have a look at this month's supermoon. Planets can be difficult to tell apart from stars for those who are not used to looking at them. And November is not a great month because the planets are not well positioned in the sky. There is, however, one opportunity for you to positively identify one planet, and that is the planet Jupiter. On the morning of the 25th, even those who have never looked up in the sky before should find it easy to find the planet Jupiter. A few hours before sunrise, the moon will rise in the southeast part of the sky. Very shortly afterwards, it will be followed by the rising of what looks like a bright star, but it's actually a planet, the planet Jupiter. It'll be easier to see the higher it rises in the sky. However, by 8:30, the sun will be rising, the sky will be getting brighter, and the planet will begin to disappear from our eye. So if you can, get out early, and if the sky is clear on the morning of the 25th, hopefully you'll be able to positively identify the planet Jupiter. The night sky can be a confusing place to find any object with so many bright stars and objects. To help us find our way about the sky, astronomers have grouped brighter stars together to form pictures in our mind's eye. These pictures are called constellations. As we learn each of the constellations, we learn the overall layout of the sky. This month, let's look at one of the most famous constellations, the Plough, or the Great Bear, or to give it its full Latin name, Ursa Major. If you look toward the northern sky, you will be able to discern, even through city lights, 7 relatively bright stars, which to me look like a large question mark. But the ancients, when they linked them together, it reminded them of a plough. Not only is this one of the largest and most famous of the constellations, it's also an extremely useful constellation because it helps us locate other areas in the sky. For instance, if you line up the 2 furthest stars on the right and in your mind link them by a line, continue the line up till you hit another bright star. Now this bright star is part of another constellation called Ursa Minor, or the Little Bear. Now this constellation is difficult to see, it's not particularly important, but the star that you hit is, because this is the North Star. And the North Star is the star which is always in the same place every night, any time of the night, because the Earth's axis is pointed towards the North Star, and as the Earth rotates around, all the stars seem to move around the North Star. So this is our anchor point in the sky. We can also find other constellations. For instance, as the diagram shows, if we link the 2 diagonal stars and draw that line, we will hit 2 relatively bright stars, and these are part of the constellation Gemini. Again, if we link the 2 stars as shown in the diagram down with an imaginary line, you will see another group of bright stars, and this is called Leo. The Plough and the North Star are well positioned in the sky during November for observation, as they are throughout the year. But Leo and Gemini do not rise above the horizon till the early hours of the morning before sunrise, so they will be a bit more challenging to observe. If getting up early isn't your thing, Leo and Gemini will be better positioned in the earlier months of next year. When a comet passes close to the Sun, part of its icy rocky material will evaporate off, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. Even when the comet exits the solar system, this trail or path of dust will remain, and from time to time the Earth will pass through a trail of dust. The trail can be quite wide, and sometimes the Earth can be a few months passing through it. When dust particles hit the Earth's atmosphere, they burn up, and from the ground they appear as brief streaks of light across the sky, which we often call shooting stars. These are meteor showers. Individual meteor showers seem to radiate from a particular point in the sky, but this is just simply an optical illusion. In November, the Earth passes through 2 comet dust tails. The first is called the Taurids. It's called this because the shooting stars or meteors appear to radiate from the constellation Taurus. It's not very spectacular. The Earth passes through the tail in the months of September, October, November and December, but they will peak in November 4th with about 5 to 10 shooting stars and meteors per hour. So on a clear night you may see a few shooting stars. The second is the Leonids. Again, call this because they seem to radiate from the constellation Leo. The peak of this shower should be around November 17th, when you may see, if it's good and clear, up to 15 meteors or shooting stars an hour. So when you see a shooting star, you know that this is a particle for one of the most ancient bodies in the solar system burning up in our atmosphere. Well, that's it for this month. I hope you enjoyed our brief trip through the November night skies. and that you get an opportunity to go out and see for yourself some of the events highlighted. The idea behind this video is to try and popularise science, and in particular astronomy, and to show that with a small bit of information and no equipment, all you have to do is go out and have a look. It's free, it's entertaining, and hopefully you will find it educational. So if you know anybody who may be interested, please pass the link of this video on to them. And so until next month's Celtic Skies Sky Update, I wish you clear skies.